Good day and welcome to the Church and the Poor. My name is Father Hayden Augustine of the Missionaries of the Poor, and today we have three panelists and a nice audience here. Glenn Gautier from West Palm Beach, Florida, Christina Dixon from Scottsdale, Arizona, and Cheryl Rame from Scottsdale, Arizona. So welcome.
Thank you.
To our program. Glenn, you are a member of an organization called Brothers and Sisters of Charity
Domestic.
Domestic.
Yes.
And explain what that means.
Well, we're Franciscan as our base, and our apostolate is to renew the church one parish at a time. It's not an international group, it's a national group, and it operates under the authority of the Bishop of Arkansas.
Okay.
And I happen to be regional minister of the Southeast region, and there's other leaders in other sections of the country. Right.
What about your experience, Glenn? What have you experienced in all these trips?
Okay. Number one, that the way that you folks are able to integrate, that has been a great help in my own spiritual life, to develop that kind of obedience, that kind of faithfulness, and to keep a balance. I have a tendency to fall off on the doing end of things, and it has helped me emphasize more the being. That your doing needs to grow the being.
The prayer life.
That's right.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just, I'm not a social worker, and there's nothing wrong with social workers.
Right.
But I'm saying that in order to be motivated and move out of the spiritual life and allow that to dictate how you meet people and minister to them.
Very good. Christina, you've been here a couple of times also from?
This will be my fifth time.
Fifth time, okay. And what keeps you coming over and over again?
Oh boy, it's like, as you live at home and you are raising your children or you're with your family and you get involved in your work and your ministries, it seems like you kind of lose touch of what is really important. And so I have to come down every year because I've never been in a place where I have felt so much love. And I come here and I feel like I'm trying to be Christ to the people. But what really surprised me the most was that when I went to minister to those people, they were Christ to me. I mean, I see the face of Jesus in every one of them, and the love, and I just get very filled with love. And so I've never felt that before so powerfully. So that's what keeps me coming back.
And you visit the centers?
I do.
Describe one of the experiences you've had.
My favorite center is Jacob's Well.
Okay.
And it's like when you come often, like if you come every year, you build a relationship because they're the same people there as you come every year. And it's like you enkindle that relationship again when you come back the next time, and they remember you.
Right.
And they remember certain little things that you shared with them.
Yes, amazing.
And I was amazed that they could, with all the people that they see, that they know who you are when you come. And so it's just the Christ on Christ, reward. I get more reward and spiritual growth from them than I think I'm giving to them. The rewards are much greater than the giving.
Good.
So.
Great. Cheryl, what about your experience?
Well, this is my third time coming.
She caught the bug from Christina.
I did. She used to, we cleaned the church together at home back in Arizona, and she used to come and share her experience after she'd come back, and I really just was so fascinated by everything that she was doing, and something I've always wanted to do. She put one of those ads in the bulletin, and I said, well, I want to do that too. So, and my daughter jumped right in. So she and I came down, and we loved it, and we came back again.
What about the great gulf between the poverty of where you are, especially in the ghetto of Kingston, and the suburbs of Scottsdale, Arizona? Does it jar you? Does it create culture shock over and over again?
It does. It does. There's so much materialism, the fancy cars, everything. And when I come here and I see this area and work with the people, and I go home and I just think, why do we have to have that? We don't need that. And so that's been a real gift. You know, you just see so many people with so many things that they don't need. And so many people here that need our help and maybe could give some help.
Wonderful. What about the prayer life, Glenn?
Yes.
And then the community life, how does that compare with your community life, whatever?
Not to make a value judgment either way, but to say I think one of the things I wanted us to catch, if it's infectious, is the depth of community life you'll have. That's another challenge that we have. And I believe that by coming down here, you have taught us more and more about how we can live in a community together, what it takes, the intentionality that is necessary.
Christina, what about the prayer life of the brothers? Does it, and the community life? Because, you know, you're staying at Jesus Redeemer. How does that balance with the work? Do you see a conflict or?
No, as a matter of fact, brother, I've been saying the Liturgy of the Hours for many, many years, and I find at home it's a struggle to make sure I can sit down for evening prayer and get my night prayer in. But I look forward every year to coming here because I love to live my life around the community and the liturgy.
Okay.
And so I love being able to go to prayer, and it's all built in right into what you do during your day. So there's always time. You're always stopping to do that.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's very powerful. It's increased my spirituality so much, and it gives me more of a longing for more.
Have you been able to at least introduce some aspect of the community life or of the your family?
Yes, I do. I am a third order Carmelite, and so I do have meetings, and our province gets together, and I go on retreats, so they know that I do have a community, and they're very supportive of that.
Good.
My husband and my children. It's just when I come here, they get a little bit squirrely.
Okay. Well, one of these days.
But they're okay with it now.
Good, good, good. Well, after 5 times, no?
Yes, yeah. Yes. They know it's for real. You know, so.
And what about you, Cheryl? And your daughter has come.
My daughter has come. My son would love to come. My daughter-in-law would love to come.
Okay.
They're both medical people, and
Really?
And when they can get their time to come down, they've already asked me many times if they can do it. And I think that so for my daughter that did come, I think she was a little surprised by the prayer life, but as the days went past, I think she found that it was really helpful to her just to come to grips with everything that's going on, because like I said, we don't have the kind of poverty in our area. We do have some, but we don't have the same thing, and it helped her get through the day and to really be focused on the Lord and what He's doing for her to help her get through it. It gave her peaceful time and time to reflect, and she has talked about her experience to her friends, to her coworkers, to her siblings, and really open their eyes to what's going on outside of their neighborhood.
Yes, yes, yes. It broadens the vision, isn't it?
It does.
It makes you see a whole different dimension of life that you never knew existed, perhaps, or it was on TV only.
Exactly.
But to encounter it, you know, Glenn, the poverty of the people, certainly in the slums, in the ghettos, but even the residents, Glenn, you can share a bit of that. The people you have fed, the children you have.
Yes. One of the things that was reinforced for me is that this is not a ministry to people, it's a ministry with people. And by that I mean, it's just not a case of getting a bowl of food and shoving it in someone's mouth. It's a case of establishing contact. It's a case of being able to get on the same page and the same level as much as you're able to as the child or the elderly man or the elderly woman. And it takes I find that I need to spend some time building, even if it's a nonverbal relationship with the person. And then I find the feeding and the rest goes much more. And something you said struck me too, is that I'm not a crier, but sometimes as I'm relating with some of these folks, I experience Christ to the point I've got to sniff up the
Hold back some tears.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's the key for me. It has been, as I've learned over my life, that the relationship must be established because people listen more to what you do than to your words. And if you got the relationship, then the words will flow. Or if it's nonverbal, then the actions will flow.
Christina, do you identify with some of this?
I do.
Yeah.
The first time I came, it was a shock. I thought I'd seen a lot of everything, in my career and my job, but when I came here, it was a real eye-opener. And I have to admit, the first couple of days were rough on me, my very first time.
Yes.
I was prone to tears like you all the time, and I was talking to the brothers to help me accept what I was seeing. And then, the brothers were so wonderful and counseled me so well that I just could feel the Spirit just coming right inside. And then I was able to embrace it. And that's when it started to really mean something, yes. So, but the poverty is hard because, like Cheryl said, we live in a very affluent area.
Yes.
And we don't see these people anywhere around Scottsdale. Downtown Phoenix has poverty and that kind of thing, but we just don't see them in Scottsdale. And so I think that we need to raise awareness to all of our people in our parishes to realize that this is not their world. I mean, there's a big world and there's lots of people, and we need to be aware that we have to minister to God's little ones. Because I feel they are the holy ones. Those are the little saints, are God's little ones.
The stone rejected by the builders.
So.
Yes. Cheryl, the brokenness of the people, does it trouble you and prohibits what Glenn was talking about? Or does it help to create that nonverbal type of relationship?
Well, I'd say to me, I have a nursing background.
Okay.
So I can't say I wasn't shocked at some of it. I was. And you definitely see the brokenness and the broken Christ. You do in their eyes. And then you'll have a moment of pure joy. There was a woman in the center that I think it was yesterday, and she was crying and not looking at me or anything, but she looked like she was in so much pain, and and I was there to take her blood pressure, and so I did that, and I was talking to her and kind of caressing her cheek, and then she looked up at me and she smiled, and I didn't know whether she could look up at me and smile, and then there's just this joy from being touched and being loved, and
wonderful. So
there's brokenness, but there's just so much love there, and
that
do
does it
see
all.
the joy.
It does, as the scripture says this morning. Yes. Let's turn to the audience for a while. I think Joanne is raring to go, but so I'm sure the other five. Joanne, tell us about your background, Joanne.
I'm a retired public health nurse.
Okay.
So I spent my life working with the poor because I wanted to be a missionary, and the death of my father and brother took care of that. I couldn't leave my mother. So I've always had a missionary heart. And coming here, I was so overjoyed that people, before I ever left, said, I want to go with you. You're so full of joy. This must be a great place you're going. And I said, I know it is. It's missionary work. And when I came, my life changed. I saw poverty, and I saw people without food and without necessities, and I did what I could to get it for them. But when I came here, the first place I went, Brother John Paul said he was changing a dressing, and I said, can I go with you? He said, sure. So I went with him, and I met this wonderful lady named Sharita. And when I saw her wound, it so touched my heart that I stood at her bed. I said, God, I have to do something. I must do something. I must get her one of those special mattresses. I must get better wound care supplies. And that meeting has changed my life. So for 2 years, I have done nothing but try to get those supplies. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but God seems to be leading me as I go and as I do this. And from there, I went to Bethlehem, and I walked in, and I felt like I got hit in the stomach when I looked around and saw all these crippled children. And, you know, some, they look up at you with such joy in their faces. And when I show those pictures to friends at home, they're like, wow, it must be awesome, Joanne. I said, you've got to come. You have no idea what an experience it will be. And what you see is the unconditional love of God in this place. Because the missionaries of the Poor Brothers, they give of their heart and their soul and their life to minister to the poorest of the poor and the marginalized. And I just think they're awesome. All of you are just amazing what you do on a daily basis, 365 days a year. Anyway, it's been a fantastic experience, and it literally has changed my life. In 2.5 months, I'm going to Haiti to start the wound care project there in Cap Haitian.
Okay, very good.
And I feel that God may be leading me to India next, and then after that, the Philippines.
Well, missionary, yeah?
I just, it's amazing because I hadn't a clue what would come when I saw Sharita. And unfortunately, Sharita went home to the Lord. But Sharita was the catalyst. With the power of the Holy Spirit, just looking at her, I just said, God, I have to do something. I didn't have a clue what it would be.
She has fulfilled her purpose. Sharita has fulfilled her mission.
She has, and she's gotten a lot of prayers from me ever since I met her. She was a sweet, sweet lady, sweet lady. And they called me within 2 hours to tell me she had passed away. And it has been a life-changing experience for me and a life-fulfilling one. I tell people, if you have a dream and you had it when you were young, never give it up. I've always loved the missions, even when I was a little girl. I love the missions. I've always had a soft spot. And for this to happen and for me to be able to finally come and to be physically well enough to come, it's been a real miracle, because I'm a cancer survivor who was supposed to be gone 20 years ago. And I think, God, I think this is why you let me live. It must be why he let me live. And I just feel like I'm 73, but I know that God is my strength.
But she's like 37, no?
I know God is my strength. And I just feel that you talk about prayer. The prayer life here is amazing. I love the fact that the Eucharist is exposed every morning and we can sit before him. Everything I've done in this wound care project, I don't move unless I sit before the Lord. 1 hour to 2 hours before the Blessed Sacrament. I couldn't function without that. And I've often told people, your prayer life is the gas in the engine. If you didn't have prayer life, there is no way you could go day after day and minister to these dear people. It is challenging. It is a privilege. It is an honor. It's all of that. But only the grace of God could sustain you day after day. It's not easy, but it's so beneficial. And the people here, they are exuding the love of God back to each of us who comes. And I think that's why we who have come, we feel joy. We feel great joy when we're around the people. They're loving us and hugging us, and oh, glory be to God, we're so blessed. We're so blessed. We're given so much. We're given so much. Anyway, I praise and thank God that Father Holung came to Oakland, California, and spoke, and I knew I had to come here someday. It just took a long time to get here, but better late than not at all.
Thanks,
thank you, Father. Thank you, Father.
Thanks for that sharing. There's a couple there behind you. I wanted to say something. They're celebrating 15 years of their married life, Scott and Johatta.
Yes, and we're from Stillman Valley, Illinois, outside of Chicago, and we just arrived yesterday. So this morning we had the privilege of attending Mass, which was amazing. One of the things that have already touched my heart was shortly after consecration, one of the residents, he was in the pew in front of where we were sitting, and he just, you know, reached up towards me, so I picked him up, and he just gives me this big kiss. And it, you know, right there before the Blessed Sacrament. And the Holy Spirit just touched my heart in that moment of the Lord saying, you know, I love you, you know, and as I love him. And it was just a very moving experience.
Scott?
Yeah, like Joanna said, it's our first time here. We've just been here for 2 days, so but it's been a real eye opener to us. To me, I live a pretty sheltered life, so it's really been good for me.
Yes.
And seeing the brothers and going to prayer with them in the morning and the evening, it's been really good for me.
Yes, good, wonderful. So this is a great anniversary gift for you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's a great anniversary gift.
I told all my friends at home that we were going here, and I said I was excited because my wife was excited to go.
Good,
You know,
good,
so
good.
it's been really good.
Wonderful,
We
wonderful.
appreciate you having us.
There's one visitor from Canada, Jalen. Yes.
My name is Jalen, and I'm from Toronto, Canada. This is my second time coming.
Yes.
I came for the first time in 2014, and I came with a church group, so it was really interesting to come with a group of people, and we sort of had a debrief and were able to discuss. And this time, I decided to come by myself. But what's interesting is that I knew that I wouldn't be alone, so I never had any fear even coming. I didn't know that I would meet all these great people, but I knew deep down that I would have that support and make these relationships. And that's sort of what gets me through the work, because I realize that the work is really tough. And sometimes, as much as you think you can do it on your own, you can't. And I actually have one example. It was at Bethlehem, and one of the brothers had asked us to say a prayer. And they were picking out someone to do a prayer. I was hiding in a corner. I didn't want to do it. And they said, who's the oldest? And I just happened to be the oldest. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do a prayer. And I simply said, God, give us strength to take care of these kids today. That's all I said. And in doing some of the work, I didn't realize that it's quite taxing on your body. And at one point, they asked us to take all the kids outside. And I'm not the strongest person in the world, and I didn't think I had the capacity to pick up a 50-pound child and take him outside. And there was a point where someone left me with one of the bigger children, said, Jalen, can you take him inside? I thought, no, I can't. And I looked up and like, Kate, if you want me to do this, I'll do this. Picked him up and I walked. And as I was walking, I couldn't believe it was happening. And I reflected back to the prayer that I had said earlier that day, that give us the strength to take care of these children. I thought, wow, that's exactly what I asked for. And that's exactly what I got. So it's moments like these that I take forth with me, and the work that I do, the relationships that I build. And for me, I think it's important to come back to get that renewal, because we get so caught up in our daily lives, and we get so caught up in the fast-paced North American lifestyle that we forget what life is really about. And at the end of the day, the relationships we make are far more important than the work that we do.
Absolutely.
So the Missionaries of the Poor has really reinforced that in me. So that's why I keep coming back.
Thank you, Jalen. Thank you. Yes. Glenn, some parting words?
Yes. I was trying to remember in the various trips. Sometimes I get confused which trip what happened. Could blame that on age too. But I think it was 2 years ago this month that in Bethlehem they needed somebody to be a sponsor for little Bobby. And they come up to me and asked me if I would be the godfather. And so that began a love affair for me with little Bobby. But each time I've come down, I find I almost have to wait in line because all the ladies want to hold Bobby. But yeah, I talked about how being here was significant in terms of my own community. But I want to say that the people, the residents, definitely won my heart if I wasn't even part of the community. That what I experienced in terms of ministry with them and how they minister back, like you said, you see Christ in each of them. And little Bobby kind of symbolizes for me. And I must confess that when I see the women all holding him.
You get jealous?
Yeah, I'm jealous. Sometimes I say, hey, that's my gun, so let me hold it.
Very good. Wonderful. Thank you, Glenn. Christina, any parting words?
Yes. The very first time I came, you know, I wasn't sure. I thought it might be just a one-time thing. I'm going to go and minister, and I will have done the missionary. And when I came, I realized that that wasn't going to be the case. When I hate to leave. When I get here, I wish I could just stay 6 months. But of course, you know, family obligations and other things bring me back. But I always I knew the first time I came, I would be coming back and coming back and coming back until I can't. So I just wish everyone would be able to have an openness to maybe experience something like this, because it is so enriching in your life to take care of these little ones for the Lord, because they are the Lord. And so, like one of the people in the audience said, there are no words to express the love that you have. So I will be back again.
For sure.
For sure.
Yes. Probably one of your family members.
I hope so. I think my husband will come.
Okay.
As I keep coming, he sees that it's something for real.
Yes.
And they're interested now. My whole family. Like, what are you doing there? Why do you have to go back every year? So I think they'll come.
Come and investigate. What's it that's drawing this lady back all the time?
Exactly.
Good, Christina. Cheryl?
Well, I would like to say thank you so much for your hospitality. The brothers have been amazing and wonderful. They're such an inspiration. I couldn't do what you do every day. I don't think I could. I love coming back. I love to work with the brothers. The residents are amazing people. They're wonderful, and I miss them the minute I leave. I think about them. I talk about them to my friends, and I'm going to be very excited to come back again.
Great. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Glenn, Christina, Cheryl. Thanks. And audience, thanks for being with us on The Church and the Poor. God bless you.